Welcome to PWCI. This week, I am the Mad Conservative Crime Fighter, and one back in time this week, back to 2008, to take a look at the match. Guy Smith, Michael Shard, and Kyle Ridge taking on CJ Esparza, Axis, and Gilbert Lewis. Michael Shard is in the Central Illinois Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. Kyle Ridge has not been active lately that I've seen. Axis has been out of the business for, I guess, since about 2010 or so. Retired, a New Midwest Tag Team Champion. Have not heard from Gilbert Lewis in years. Not sure what he's doing these days. But we are into the summer months. And wrestling events will be slowing down. Not as many, although there will be more outdoor events. Here we go. CJ Esparza going to be starting off with Kyle Ridge. Kyle Ridge, not a popular figure in Pekin, as at this point of time, he was the NGW People's Choice Champion. As CJ Esparza grabs a headlock at Kyle Ridge and rubs up his cranium. These matches were from Next Generation Wrestling, held at the Dragon Dome. Back in October of 2008, NGW, one of the great promotions in Central Illinois history, producing a number and showcasing a number of fantastic wrestlers. Probably the most famous one at this point is Prince Mustafa Ali, who's now a part of World Wrestling Entertainment. Of course, there's been a few others that have entered WWE from NGW, and that includes Juice Robinson, who wrestled a number of matches here at NGW. Guy Smith and Michael Shard were the original incarnation of Attitude Incorporated before adding Spencer Powers and Michael Shard stepping aside. Michael Shard has not been active for over a year, and that's due to accumulated injuries over the years. Sciatic nerve, can't stand up, and I can't. That's the same problem I do, sciatic nerve issues, and he can't stand up, but I can't sit, which is kind of interesting in itself. Same issue, but two different problems. And Kyle Ridge with the side elbow on CJ Esparza. Go behind by CJ. Kyle Ridge hops off the ropes and flips Esparza off, but eats an elbow. Esparza off the ropes. Pick up, flying head scissors, and down goes Kyle Ridge, and an arm drag. Well, this weekend, Central Illinois Pro Wrestling returns to South Fork High School on Kincaid, Illinois. United Wrestling Coalition goes to Homer Opera House with a special 1 p.m. start time in Homer, Illinois. As Gilbert Lewis tags in and Michael Shard charges in and gets thrown off the ropes, pick up, back body drop, and Michael Shard gonna tag Guy Smith in. Axis comes in, kick to the legs of Guy Smith, and a drop kick, and down goes Guy Smith to the outside. And ring is cleared up. And CJ Esparza with a suicide dive on Kyle Ridge. Michael Shard. And Midge getting in an argument with Guy Smith, the manager of Gilbert Lewis. And Axis gets tripped up. Guy Smith comes back in. as wrestlers are fighting all around the AstroTurf. And Guy Smith takes over on Axis. It looks like he's gonna, well, thought I was setting him up for something. Side elbow and a cover. And only a 2. Other events happening around the St. Louis area. The Mid-Missouri Wrestling Alliance at the South Broadway Athletic Club on its monthly event on the 10th. And Pro Wrestling Championship Series in Alton, Illinois at the American Legion Hall. That's this weekend's events. Of course, IWA Unlimited runs every Tuesday in Noble. As Guy Smith gets a 2 count, well, Michael Shard with a leg drop, only a 2 on Axis, and Shard with a stomp. I had to hastily record this episode of the program. I had hoped to give a report of the aftermath of Streeter, but due to a glitch at Axis 4, they had a problem with the CD that or DVD that I took over there. So I had to produce another episode and resend it. So I taped this thing right before the Memorial Day weekend. Gilbert Lewis comes in and argues with Robbie McCann, 3-time Central Illinois Referee of the Year. And Axis being worked over in the corner. Kyle Rich with a snapmare. Kyle Rich! Well, I thought I was going to kick him, but goes to a rear chin lock. Third weekend of June, SICW with its monthly event in East Carndale, Illinois at the Community Center. World League Wrestling returns to Troy, Missouri on the 17th at Race Wrestling Academy. Kyle Rich with the clothesline, or gets clotheslined by Axis. Irish whip by Axis. Rich kicks him, he put his head down, and that back body drop attempt was thwarted, and Kyle Rich springboard off the ropes, cross body on a sitting Axis, only gets a 2. Proving Ground Pro goes to Mason City, Illinois for an outdoor show, 5 o'clock at the Memorial/Tourist Park. Mason City debut there, outdoor show at 5. Rampage Championship Wrestling will be holding an outdoor show as well, but it will cost to get in at the Colt County Sports Complex in East Gillespie, Illinois. And of course, National Wrestling League with its bi-weekly show at the Casa Loma Ballroom in St. Louis on a Sunday. I can't believe they went head-to-head with Ring of Honor. I think, I don't know. Maybe it's just a coincidence, but National Wrestling League runs on Sundays in St. Louis, and they happen to draw the same weekend as Ring of Honor. It's once-a-year trip to Collinsville. Well, it's bi-yearly, I think. Twice a year. But Ring of Honor popped up the same weekend, and I just wonder what the draw was in between, but Guy Smith with a delayed vertical suplex happens to fall towards his corner, but can't make the tag, and only a 2. And Guy Smith with a rear chin lock on Axis. If anybody's ever heard from Axis lately, let me know. I'd like to know how he's doing. Because he just disappeared without pretty much explanation as to why he retired suddenly. Just haven't heard from him for 7 years, pretty much. Kyle Rich aggravating CJ Esparza as Guy Smith comes in and pounds away on Axis in the corner. And the triple teaming continues on Axis. Axis, but this time runs into a boot, but Michael Shard yanks Axis down by the hair. And Kyle Rich trying to shake off the boot from the face and continue the assault. And Axis trying to come back here. Oh, Kyle Rich tried to do his foot jawbreaker, but Axis blocked it, flipped him over, only gets a 2 as Robbie McCann. Counts 2. Of course, Robbie McCann rarely referees these days. He prefers to wrestle, although several people says he just doesn't have the psychology of being a wrestler down at all. I don't know. There's a lot of people who are not fans of Robbie McCann's ring work. And there's attack CJ Esparza, and Attitude Inc. bails out on Kyle Rich. What in the world is that about? Drop kick on Kyle Rich. CJ Esparza running, shooting star. And only 2. Michael Shard says nothing on Kyle Rich. I guess they have just betrayed him. Kyle Rich, though, not giving up. As CJ Esparza turns his attention to Michael Shard. Well, Esparza, Axis, and Lewis has their attention towards Attitude Inc. And Kyle Rich shoved Robbie McCann into CJ Esparza. That should have been a disqualification. Look at Kyle Rich picks him up. Face first. Tries to win it here. And Axis breaks it up. Attitude Inc. has left. It was an attempt to, if it was a planned strategy by Attitude Inc. and Kyle Rich, almost worked. Kyle Rich going for a powerbomb, but Gilbert Lewis and Axis are in the ring. Roll him into the corner. Kyle Rich is all by himself now. Axis double knees to the gut, but now he's caught. He's caught. Gilbert Lewis kicks Kyle Rich in the back of the head. CJ Esparza grabs a hold of Kyle Rich. Form of a Canadian destroyer. And gets the pinfall.
Ladies and gentlemen, here are your winners, the team of Gilbert Lewis, Axis, and CJ Esparza.
12 minutes and 40 seconds, time of the fall. I don't know why Attitude Inc. abandoned Kyle Rich there. Of course, this is like 9 years ago, so memory's a little fuzzy about events going on 9 years ago, but we're going to take a quick break. We're going to take a look at the weekend schedule and have a casket match on the program from NGW. Stay tuned.
Now, like Scooter said, I am here to make a statement. I
I'm here to show those clowns in the back that I am a rising star here in NGW. So I have sent a message to one of the stars in the back to come out here and face the wrath of DTM in the casket match. So whoever received my letter back there, come on out. Is there not a man back there that's willing to face DTM?
Maybe he's in the coffin.
Come on, it's okay. I won't hurt you that bad in this casket.
Scooter, get in the ring. Hey, check the coffin. Maybe he's in there.
Well, Dan the Man, before he became big-time superhero, well, he's transitioning from a referee to a wrestler, and a number of times he was just thrown around like a rag doll, pretty much. Dan the Man, only about 130, 140 pounds. Mason Beck, who was pretty much a big rising star in the Central Illinois, well, Midwest region, comes out to answer the call from Dan the Man, and this is a huge mismatch. Mason Beck, 6'5". He's a force to be reckoned with. Dan the Man, well, about a foot taller. Foot taller than Dan the Man, and twice the, well, actually 3 times the weight. Mason Beck's about 260 pounds, 70 pounds. Dan the Man, about 130 to 140. So, Mason Beck, twice as heavy as little Dan the Man here. Dan the Man circling the bigger opponent. Well, this is a casket match. The rules of the casket match, of course. Throw your opponent inside the casket and shut the lid, and you win the match. In fact, the most recent casket match that was broadcast was the infamous Kalisto versus Braun Strowman, where Kalisto, formerly known as Samurai del Sol, who wrestled in the Midwest and Dreamwave, beat Braun Strowman in a casket match in a huge upset. Of course, Braun Strowman was a huge sore loser, and the big bully is now having to spend time recovering after after surgery. Now having to find out what it's like to be sitting on the sidelines injured when you had injured a bunch of other people in the process. And I don't think a whole lot of people have a lot of sympathy for Braun Strowman's actions, and probably happy that he's having to sit in a hospital bed for a while. Maybe he won't be so eager to injure people smaller than him. Mason Beck pounding away, and DTM setting him up, charges, and the man slips out, goes to the top rope, and a crossbody, easily caught. Got not very much momentum to knock over Mason Beck and gets slammed down for his troubles. one last time around with the rundown of the weekend events. CIPW in Kincaid, Illinois on the 10th. Night Wrestling Coalition with an afternoon show in Homer, Illinois. 1 o'clock. Why is Dan the Man going for a sunset flip? There's no pinfalls in this match. And Mason back just grabs him by the neck, hurls him up in the air, and throws him down with ease. Well, Dan the Man is better off wrestling as a middleweight, not going against a super heavyweight like Mason Beck, which is why I've been such an advocate for lower weight class titles. It shouldn't everybody shouldn't have to like fight for the same title and be outweighed like 200 pounds and a foot and a half. Mason Beck puts DTM against the post and gets out of the way, and Mason Beck crashes into it. And now DTM is going to go work on the arm that struck the metal of Mason Beck. MMWA is going to South Broadway, back to St. Louis, Missouri at South Broadway on the 10th, and then Pro Wrestling Championship Series in Alton. That's this weekend's events. So be sure to support your independent pro wrestling promotion, wherever it is. Well, that tornado DDT attempt blocked, and Dan the Man gets posted. This was at the Dragon's Dome back in October of 2008. In Pekin, Illinois. Next Generation Wrestling, promoted by the callous Corey Carter, now in the Central Illinois Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. Kathy Hawk, who was a financial contributor to the operation of NGW, also a Hall of Famer. She's running the sound system way over to the way back there, out of camera range. Mason Beck has Dan the Man way up in the air. And down goes Dan the Man after a 20 count, and Mason Beck is just having fun, throwing Dan the Man around like a rag doll. It's almost a night off for him. Sure, Dan the Man did only damage pretty much to Mason Beck done to him was offense that was avoided, that he crashed into something. Gets out of the way of running into the post, but Mason Beck gorilla press in this huge mismatch. Mason Beck power slams Dan the Man, 40 pounds of him. Dan the Man bit off way more than he could chew in this casket match. He's not going to pin him. He's got to throw him into the casket to win the match. And there's that casket. And Mason Beck opening the lid as the photographer's right by to capture the action. That's photographer Michelle. Everybody's in Halloween costumes because this is October. Back then. Well, Dan the Man temporarily gets out of the way, delays the inevitable. Dan the Man gets thrown face first into the coffin. Mason Beck pretty much has this under control and taking his time, and just sits Dan the Man on top of the casket. And I don't know what he's up to here. Drops an elbow. And dumps DTM down to the AstroTurf here in the Dragon Dome. Well, trying to follow the action here. It's I was not running ringside with the camera yet, and Mason Beck and Dan the Man has gone to the locker room. Dan the Man got himself a chair back there and blasted Mason Beck with it. And apparently in the head. But Mason Beck is back out here. And Dan the Man celebrating way too early. I mean, you got to get Mason Beck in the casket. Sure, you got yourself a temporary reprieve, but you did not follow it up. And Mason Beck now has that chair. And Dan the Man is in huge trouble and jams that chair into the side of Dan the Man. Well, Dan the Man shouldn't have turned his back on Mason Beck. And Beck is going to make him pay for it. Mason Beck looks towards the casket, going to open it up. Mason Beck winding up, swing and a miss. Dan the Man up on the casket. Catches him with an elbow. Gets a hold of the chair. Trying to whack him. He hits Mason Beck. Mason Beck is hanging over the casket. This might be the biggest upset ever. I think Dan the Man should have kept that chair in his hand and continued to whack Mason Beck because he just swatted him away. And Beck with a spine buster on the AstroTurf. Well, and Mason Beck takes the precaution of shutting the lid so he doesn't accidentally fall into the casket. Beck picks him up. Fireman's carry. F5 onto the casket. Yeah, that is Brock Lesnar's finisher, and picks him up like a little kid and drops him in. And this is pretty much over with. Well, pretty easy casket match for Mason Beck. Dan the Man tried, but outweighed out. Just a giant mismatch. 10 minutes and 50 seconds. Dan the Man just pretty much kept in the match as long as he was for Mason Beck to, I guess, properly initiate him into the wrestling business. But for all the latest schedule information, visit the St. Louis Wrestling Community at stwrestling.livejournal.com. Don't know what I'm going to feature next week, but I'll find something good. Until next time, this is Matt Conservative Confire. Thank you for watching this flashback episode of PWCI this week.